Good morning. How are you this morning?
Morning.
You know, there's an age-old saying that let us live in interesting times. Now, many people have thought that that is a positive saying, but it actually comes from the recognition of a curse. That when we live in interesting times, we live in times of change. And times of change always come with conflict, always come with disillusionment, and always come with a problem where we don't know where we're going. But you know what? As was just said, we always know where we're going because we have a blueprint that is being created for where to go. But unless we know where we are at the moment, we're not going to know how to solve our problems. We live in a world obsessed with change at the moment. We see governments demanding change. We see institutions demanding change. And we see the media supporting that change. But do we ever stop and ask, why are we changing? What are we changing for? Should we be changing? And what are we giving up when we change? A long, long time ago, there was a system created. It was a system created for a purpose. It was a system created where distinct language, culture, and identities were created. This was not accidental. It was an order designed specifically to safeguard against the rise of oppressive powers. An order designed to maintain balance within society. An order designed to ensure that the strong man couldn't rise up and subjugate people, as what is happening today. What we've seen over the last 150 years in this world is a systematic eradication of identity. The systematic eradication of identity that has ensured that we as a people, ons as Afrikaners, nie meer ons identiteit het nie. Through centralization and through ideological globalism and through the blending and breaking down of cultural lines, we have seen an assault not just on identity, but on our very human soul. We have seen a breakdown on that which we find, with that which gives us purpose, that which gives us a knowledge of who we are. In the name of liberalism and democracy, the New World Order has built a vast bureaucratic superstate, centralized mechanisms that reduce communities to statistics and costumes of culture. Our culture has disappeared. We now take on the identity of that which we look at every day, the new identity of a global man, which is no longer bound by his responsibility towards his fellow man, no longer bound by his responsibility towards culture, but he's bound within himself so that he no longer has any responsibility to anyone around him, but he remains responsible only to self-gratification. This global culture masquerades as progress, but it hasn't brought us peace. It has brought us confusion, dislocation, despair, and it has rendered communities powerless and left individuals isolated, anxious, and divided. There is, however, another way. The answer is not change for the sake of change, We are, we are tasked to preserve the good of the past rather than disregard it, to restore and refine the proven principle of cultural self-determination and cooperative governance. Globalism blurs the lines of cultural diversity. It leaves behind resentment, not only among small indigenous or historically marginalized people, but even amongst once dominant cultures, now watching their heritage dissolve in the flood of homogeneousness. We have seen this pattern take root in South Africa over the last 30 years, where all cultures have been undermined for the sake of a new identity, for the sake of identity that wants to create a grey society. I believe the most successful models have already been created. Models that need to be looked at in order to ensure a better future, not just for the Afrikaner, but for everyone in South Africa. We are not here as an isolated group. Ons is hier as mense, as deel van ander mense, ander nasies om ons. Ons het vele nasies om ons. En ons moet verstaan dat ons 'n mandaat het, nie net vir onsself nie, maar 'n mandaat het vir almal, om seker te maak dat selfs hulle kultuur 'n plekjie in die son. There is a system that has been a very successful system in Europe for a very long time, that until the last little while was able to withstand the change that took place in Europe towards the European Union, and that was the Swiss canton system. It's a system that has allowed over many centuries for diverse cultures to establish themselves as diverse cultures, as diverse nations, and to establish themselves as a cooperative culture, where they work together but they remain distinct. They are allowed to govern over themselves. They went from 8 cantons, minor cantons, sub-cantons, to 26 fully fledged nations that now cooperate with each other, and where one doesn't rule over the other and where one doesn't surpass the other. We've seen other systems work just as effectively. This very country over here, which nation was a federation of independent states. Independent states with their own laws, their own nuances, their own defense forces, that produced the most powerful nation in the world. The most powerful nation. It's only since centralization took place in the 1890s that we've seen the decline start. When the federal government took too much power to itself, that we saw the decline start. It was God at the Tower of Babel that separated us. Not ourselves. It was God that said, let you each have a different language, let you each have a different culture, let you each become different nations, to ensure that we break down any strongholds that are there. We have seen over centuries how many tyrants have tried to undermine that by trying to force groups together, by bringing resources together in order to dominate others. But it's that very diversity that has broken them down. Is it not time for us here in South Africa to recognize it, that it's our diversity that is our strength? It is our diversity that makes sure that we don't have an ANC that can bring about centralization of power. It is our diversity that ensures that a Zulu king doesn't have to bow to a president to get a certificate to be a king of his nation. And just like we shouldn't have to bow to anybody else around us to look after ourselves, to manage our own affairs, and to make sure that we are economically viable, just so the others around us have that same right. But we have all fallen for this idea of a rainbow democracy, which doesn't exist. It is a lie. It's a lie from the pit of hell itself. It is a lie because it takes away that which was implemented by God. It takes it away and it replaces it with a centralist government that is about subjugation, huge cities that are about subjugation. All these things about subjugation and the dispelling of that which is our very nature. I want to thank you for the opportunity, and I want to thank the organizers for the start of what we are creating over here. It is time to realize that 235 wasn't put in the Constitution by accident. It was put in the Constitution because it's supposed to be there. When the people went into Israel, God didn't say, "Oh, you're Israelites, there you go." Each and every group was given its place in the sun. Each and every group was given a place where they could rule over themselves. It's time we do the same over here. We were put on the southern end of Africa for a reason. And I believe that is the reason. I believe we have a responsibility to bring about the order that is supposed to be here. Thank you very much.